Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. And this is the Tarot, Its True Meaning by J.S. Marx. An article taken from Rosicrucian Digest, Volume 11, Number 4, May 1933. The Tarot, Its True Meaning by J.S. Marx. One of the most difficult tests that besets the Rosicrucian student in his path towards enlightenment is to keep his feet firmly planted on the ground of postulates that can be tested and proven true beyond the shadow of a doubt. There is and has always been and shall always be one true key that will prove all postulations, and that key is mathematics. It is the only exact science that exists, and fortunately everything that has being can be tested by the laws of geometry. One of the most intense and interesting studies in metaphysics is the Kabbalah, and naturally the Tarot which goes with this study. Yet here we meet on every hand such a diverse interpretation of the symbology of the Tarot that one is bewildered at the very many postulates that are advanced. The encyclopedias state that the Kabbalah is a system of theosophy which was developed by the Jews in the 10th century. My researchers do not entirely agree with this broad statement in the encyclopedia, for in its broader sense it includes the secret doctrines of other races. In all lands the secret doctrine has ever been jealously guarded from the profane and was never permitted to be put in writing except in a symbolical form. Thus, it took one who was skilled in metaphysics, in symbology, and in the history of numbers and the alphabet to even scrape the surface of varied meanings of the tarot cards. C.C. Zane issues a series of lessons on the Kabbalah and the Tarot that, if you accept the theory of his teachings, are understandable. He says that the Kabbalah consists of two parts, the written and the oral, and both are in symbolical language which purposefully blinds with subterfuges that confuse the uninitiated. He further continues, this unwritten Kabbalah has been transmitted only through certain secret schools. Those receiving it will merit what is given them. They are left to their own devices in the matter of interpretation. And because the real keys to its interpretation, astrology and the tarot cards, have been largely ignored or distorted, they have floundered sadly at its meanings. Whether written or unwritten, the Kabbalah is a philosophy correlated to esoteric astrology as exemplified by the Tarot, and it can only be comprehended fully by those who perceive the true relation between astrological energies and their pictured Tarot exemplifications. Alphonse Louis Constant, who adapted the pseudonym of Eliphas Levi Zahed, which is presumed to be the Hebrew equivalent of his own name, wrote many books on the occult and magic. His book Transcendental Magic, Its Doctrine and Ritual, which was translated into English by the eminent historian on occult works A.E. Waite, contains many interesting comments on the Kabbalah and the Tarot. Eliphas Levi truly states that all religions and philosophies have retained and preserved a remembrance of a primitive book, written in hieroglyphs by the sages of the earliest epoch of the world. Simplified and vulgarized in later days, its symbols furnish letters to the art of writing, characters to the word, and to occult philosophy its mysterious signs and pantacles. He attributes this book by the Hebrews to Enoch, seventh master of the world after Adam, by the Egyptians to Hermes Trismegistus, by the Greeks to Cadmus, the mysterious builder of the holy city, and that this book was a symbolical summary of the primitive tradition called subsequently the Kabbalah or Kabbalah, which means reception. Waite, in his introduction through the work in footnotes, emphasizes the fact that Eliphas Levi was never an initiate of a known esoteric school, but that he presumes at one time he had studied in the grades of such a school and had then been excluded from further advancement. However, what Eliphas Levi has written shows that he was an earnest student, yet there are many errors in his work. He was known to have been proficient in Latin and Greek, but his glaring errors in the translation of Hebrew either prove that he only had a fair knowledge of this language, or that he took an entirely different meaning of the glyphs, which make up this ancient and difficult language. Levi likewise in his books urges that the student secure a knowledge of astrology to be enabled to understand the Kabbalah and the Tarot, and in his work referred to above, he compares the 22 cards of the major arcanum of the Tarot with the moon. And then to fill out the other lunar month days that are not covered by these 22 cards, he uses the symbology of 7 planets. Had he applied his studies to the tarot and astrology as so many other students and authors before him, and not endeavored to introduce something new that cannot even be proven by superficial tests, he might have accomplished something that would help the seeker. As it is, he has so confused his interpretations that to a student it becomes somewhat of a hodgepodge, and has negated many of the germs he has in his book. I might say that I have a very thorough knowledge of astrology and have devoted much time to the investigation of this ancient science. And while I admit that much of it can be tied up with the tarot, yet much of it seems to bear no relation to the Kabbalah. Astrology as practiced by the Chaldeans was pure and unadulterated. When the Romans and Greeks came in contact with this ancient science, they so postulated it that there is small wonder there is today so much confusion as to its actual place in metaphysical studies. We as Rosicrucian students are taught to investigate and prove all postulates, and to eliminate from our work all fantastic and fanciful theories and doctrines. That which cannot be tested and proven true beyond the shadow of a doubt is to be discarded. Thus, while all students of the occult must admit that the Kabbalah and the Tarot have important message for those capable of reading the symbology contained in them, we do not for 1 minute believe that the ancients meant the knowledge to be lost or hidden in such symbols that could not be readily understood by posterity. That through the ages, many so-called initiates made their own constructions of the symbols and read them and fitted them to their own postulates is likewise true, but that we are to take every interpretation as a true meaning is ridiculous. Our teachings emphasize the importance that facts may be realities to some, but not actualities to others. It is only by realization of the truths that we are to be governed. It likewise dawns on the student that many of the teachings cannot be assimilated by the average person, and therefore the arcane and mystery schools have always existed to teach its members in the various grades such knowledge as they can use for the benefit of mankind, and thus become the light bearers for posterity. I have often read that no one can become acquainted with the true mysteries without a personal teacher. I'm inclined to believe that this is true, and this also accounts why so little that is useful to the seeker is written in books and in manuscripts. This therefore accounts likewise that to become an initiate, and this is why so many schools emphasize the fact that when the postulant is ready, he will receive assistance from a master who will guide him in the right path. I do not intend to imply, however, that you can become an initiate without a real initiation. Joining the AMORC and getting a membership card and going through an initiation ceremony does not change a man in the twinkling of an eye from an ordinary human being into a full-fledged Rosicrucian. The real initiation must come from within, and the outer initiation is but a dramatic representation of what must occur spiritually within the person. As our Imperator has so often said, could mere membership in an art society make an artist out of a patron of art? No, he says. Come with us, and we will help you go along the path to a point where someday you may become a real initiate. None of us are therefore really Rosicrucians, but rather Rosicrucian students. And if we persist in our studies and researches along the lines AMORC directs us, we may someday arrive at the point where we will really be on the path towards initiation. I wonder how many of us really have thought what an initiate is. Have we really stopped to consider this important question? To the serious-minded student, it only gradually dawns on him that it can only mean him who so creates in himself a spiritual kingdom, that the very heavens are the true ontology or science of existence, and our place in the plan of evolution. He then reads the scriptures in a different understanding, and many of the statements of the prophets and masters show him that there is nothing new under the sun, and that to the earnest seeker no knowledge is hidden that will enable him to be of service to mankind. Thus, of necessity, no arcane or mystery school need ever exact an oath of secrecy of its teachings. It is unnecessary, for no matter how hard we try to understand the teachings of a true initiate or to copy him or her, unless we are prepared by study, service, and learning the technique, there can be no real secrets revealed to us that we can divulge. The creator of all has not violated his meanings to man, but man in his crassness, mostly for selfish reasons, has so befuddled the mind of the fellow man that it is a wonder that the seeker can secure true knowledge. Even when he contacts a school which teaches sane, sound knowledge, its simplicity so bewilders him that he does not believe he has contacted anything real, and so he goes to another school and he has lost a golden opportunity. Man himself formed the priesthoods which usurped the knowledge that belongs to every human being, and to make humans more of a power, have intentionally veiled the ancient symbols of the true doctrines. It is often stated by most profound writers that the Sphinx contains a secret that, when unveiled, will throw much light on the formation of this universe. Yet to the earnest seeker, the Sphinx is but a symbol carved in granite and is easily read. It forms the basis of the correct reading of the tarot. For it is so shaped that it has the head of man, the wings of an eagle, the body of a bull, and the paws of a lion. The Kabbalah explanation is that there is but one principle, but one law, but one truth, and but one agent, and that this is expressed by the Sphinx. It has the paws of a lion, symbolizing the one principle, energy, the wings of an eagle expressing the one law, sex, the body of a bull expressing one truth, reality. If we draw a circle and place in this circle a 12-pointed star, we will accrue the 4 symbols of what are known as the fixed signs: Taurus, an earthy sign, the second house in the ring of the zodiac, and which the ancients have likened to the bull. The 5th sign, the second fixed sign in the zodiac, is named Leo, the lion, and is a sign expressing the element of fire. The 8th sign, called Scorpio, and which has been likened to the eagle by many writers, is a sign expressing water. And finally, Aquarius, the 11th sign, which represents man and symbolizes the air. Thus, a geometric figure having what is termed the fixed cross in it corresponds to the fourfold character of the Sphinx and symbolizes the 4 elements of earth, fire, water, and air. The message, therefore, can be read in the terms of the fourfold Sphinx, that the energy or the lion, fire, expresses through sex of the eagle, water, bringing about material incarnation, and plodding toil of the bull, earth, to the end of evolving the immortal man, air. Now, to a student of astrology, the above shows emphatically that the Sphinx represents just this and nothing more. This then will account for the fact that in the tarot there can only be 4 suites, which are known as pentacles, diamonds, wands, clubs, cups, hearts, swords, spades. In other words, there are but 4 major elements in the universe, if we can call them elements, and mankind must master these elements as he must master the symbolism of the pentacles, wands, cups, and swords. As we have likewise assumed that all symbology can be solved by mathematics, the only exact science, it follows that the symbology of the tarot, which consists of 78 cards or plates, must display a very definite message to the student of the metaphysics. The study of the Kabbalah was formed for just this purpose. Now, the rule of 4 follows that as there are 4 suites, there must be found court cards for each suite. Queen there is to each king, and a warrior or jack or prince and a man to each suite likewise has what is called by many the minor arcana, or the numbered cards of ace, 1 to 10. Then there is the major arcana of 22 cards which belong to no suite but which have a definite name and symbol on them. In many tarot cards they have the same number as the Hebrew alphabet, for in Hebrew, as in many of the ancient languages, the letters and the numbers were the same. And as there are only 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, the symbology follows naturally in the Kabbalah, and here we drift into numerology. Yet the first card, called by many the juggler, contains in its symbolism all the elements of the entire tarot. I shall of course not go into an intricate description of this card or any other cards in this article, but hope to reserve this for some future article in explaining the symbology of each card and the hidden message contained therein. Each card expresses the kingdoms of mankind in this period of his evolution, the divine, human, and material, and in addition thereto the positive, creative, and neuter functions of each kingdom. It is in fact a pictured history of the neophyte in his path of initiation towards adeptship. It explains fully the law of 9, 7, 3, 4 and duality that has puzzled so many seekers, and merits well for Rosicrucian students a pleasant path in the search for knowledge. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe and comment, and if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.